Continuing from the previous episode 647. Chapter 1576, Clan Extermination War. The many experts from the Yao clan in the sky suddenly emitted an extremely bright luster from within their bodies. The Do Chi within their bodies had become extremely wild and violent at this moment. They actually intends to self-destruct. Hun Huzi's expression changed slightly upon seeing this. If this many experts were to self-destruct, even this sealed realm might be torn open. However, the nihility devouring flame had already turned into countless of tunneling at this moment and was unable to stop them. Humph, it is not so easy to escape under the eyes of our Hun clan. Hun Huzi's eyes became gloomy. He rapidly took out a scroll with a rising black flame from his storage ring. After which, he suddenly tore it apart. Black flame surged and directly formed a flame tunnel. Many figures rushed out from within it and appeared in the sky of this chaotic place. Ha ha! It is unexpected that you have actually ended up in such a state in this meeting of ours. Waves after waves of vast and mighty dark chilly auras spread over the sky after the many black figures came out from the tunnel. Such a might caused the hearts of everyone in this already dangerous state to sink. Had the Hun clan's experts finally showed themselves? The activity in the sky was also detected by Yao Dan. He suddenly lifted his head and gathered towards the leader of the many black figures. There were two elders standing at that spot. At this moment, the two of them were smilingly looking at him. Their smiles were filled with an iciness. Hun Jing, Hun Yan. Two of the four demon saints of the Hun clan has actually appeared together. Your Hun clan really thinks highly of my Yao clan. The elder leading the group laughed faintly upon hearing the low and vicious voice of Yao Dan. He said, Yao Dan, the alchemist skills of your Yao clan does still have some use for our Hun clan. If you agree to the Yao clan being an affiliated clan of my Hun clan, you might still be able to preserve some bloodline. Even if my Yao clan was to sacrifice our last drop of blood, we will definitely not live in a humiliating manner under your Hun clan. Yao Dan spoke in a dense voice. Being a member of the Yao clan, they possessed their own pride. No one would agree with that whatever affiliation. In that case, we can only kill all of you. The elder was unsurprised at Yao Dan's words. He grinned slightly and waved his hand. He spoke in a soft voice, do not leave any survivors. Understood. The many experts from the Hun clan behind immediately revealed a ferocity in their eyes upon hearing this. They let out a savage laughter. Immediately, majestic Do Chi erupted and rushed downwards from all directions. Explode. Seeing the experts from the Hun clan attacking, the light on the body of an elder of the Yao clan suddenly became extremely bright. Immediately, an extremely wild and violent energy wildly exploded in the sky. Some of the experts from the Hun clan, who had been struck, immediately spat out blood and pulled back rapidly. Bang! 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 After the first expert from the Yao clan self-destructed, it seemed to have suddenly lit the blood of the many members of the Yao clan. Immediately, light surged within the bodies of many. Finally, they shot through the sky like falling stars and self-destructed at the same spot simultaneously. Boom boom! A frightening extermination storm had flattened this entire mountain range in an instant. Tens of thousands of feet large deep streams crack lines began to spread like a spiderweb. In the face of such a frightening self-destruct attack, the realm, which had originally been completely sealed, had actually once again become distorted. There were some tiny cracks vaguely appearing. Continue. Yao Dan's eyes revealed a joyous expression after seeing that the space had finally been altered slightly. However, an endless sadness was hid under this joy. Who would have expected that this Yao clan, which had been completely peaceful a day ago, would actually end up with tens of millions of descendant citizens being killed and many clan members being dead or seriously injured. The danger of the clan being exterminated still covered over them. At this moment, the only thing that they could do was for their clan members to self-destruct and enable the bloodline to continue. After hearing the stern cry, many experts from the Yao clan continued to unhesitatingly self-destruct. Humph! Hun Jing in the sky let out a cold snort. He waved his sleeve. Monstrous black aura surged out with lightning-like speed. It immediately turned into a large hand that threw those members of the Yao clan, who wanted to self-destruct at a certain spot, far away. In this way, those Yao clan's experts, which had exploded in the other areas, had sacrificed themselves to no avail. Wanwo! Yao Dan cried out explosively after seeing Hun Jing intervening. Elder Wanwo, who was covered in blood a short distance away, had directly shot upwards after hearing Yao Dan's cry. A couple of extremely powerful elders from the Yao clan also followed. The Do Chi within their bodies had boiled completely at this moment. Their auras suddenly soared as their Do Chi boil. This would be their final battle. A battle to protect the members of their clan. I can stop them alone. Hun Hezi laughed coldly after seeing Elder Wanwo and the rest use a secret technique to cause boil their Do Chi and cause their aura to soar. His body moved and appeared in front of Elder Wanwo. He waved his hand and black flame surged. Just his strength alone was sufficient to drag Elder Wanwo and the others into a battle with him. Seeing that miserable and tragic battle, Xiao Yan had also involuntarily tightened his fist. Was this the Clan Extermination War? The Xiao clan back then had likely also experienced this same scene. In order to ensure that their bloodline lived on, these people were willing to give up everything. They did not feel any regret even if they had to self-destruct. At this moment, the private grudge between all of them had already vanished. Those clan members who once had some conflict with each other were willing to self-destruct in order to protect the other. Damn Hun clan. The scarlet color within Yao Dan's eyes became even more intense after seeing that even Elder Wanwo's group had been held back. His eyes swiftly swept around the place and finally paused in the direction of Xiao Yan a short distance away. His body immediately moved and appeared in front of the latter. With a wave of his hand, over a dozen members of the Yao clan appeared beside Xiao Yan. These people were a little familiar to Xiao Yan. This was because they were the group of young people who had obtained the best result on the medicinal ceremony. Xiao Yan, the experts from my Yao clan will self-destruct to tear open the realm and provide you with a chance to escape. I have never begged anyone in my life, but this time around, I beg that you help me preserve some of the Yao clan's bloodline. Yao Dan's eyes were blood red as they stared at Xiao Yan. His voice spoke in an anxious and hurried manner. A short distance from Xiao Yan was that old man Shen Nong, who had quite a good relationship with him. However, he did not choose the latter. This was because his instincts vaguely told him that only Xiao Yan had the ability to help him preserve the bloodline. Moreover, he did not have any other choice at this moment. In order to preserve a little of the clan's bloodline, he was willing to even self-destruct. This sudden unexpected occurrence caused Xiao Yan to be startled. He looked at the blood-red eyes of Yao Dan and felt his heart become stuffy. Regardless of what had happened, the latter was still a qualified clan head. Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath of air. He glanced at Yao Lao. The latter's eyes were a little moist. However, he did not say anything. Clan head, allow me to stay. I will fight with these damn bastards. Bloody tears crossed Yao Tian's face. He had personally saw his father being killed by a couple of experts from the Hun clan. At this moment, all he knew was that he should try his best to kill the members of the Hun clan and take revenge for his father. Slap. A slap was violently swung onto Yao Tian's face after his words sounded. Yao Dan looked at Yao Tian ferociously. He roared like a wild beast. What can you useless individuals do by staying behind? Countless members of the clan has self-destructed to provide you with the opportunity to escape? How can you face them? Yao Tian held his half-swollen face. He bit his lips. Blood continued to seep out from the corner of his mouth. Yao Ling by his side, who was just like a goddess in the hearts of the younger members of the Yao clan, was also crying. After having experienced the unexpected occurrence today, they finally understood that they were just like a flower protected in a greenhouse by the clan. All of you will obey everything Xiao Yan says. In order to ensure that the bloodline of the Yao clan continues, you will have to die if you are asked to. Xiao Yan sighed softly. This is really a heavy burden that had inexplicably appeared. He was unable to even take care of the Xiao clan. Where would he find so much energy? However, he needed to rely on the strength of the Yao clan in order to tear open the sealed realm. Hence, he had no choice but to agree. Clan head Yao Dan, I will do my best. Old fellow, I will also do my best to help. Old man Shen Nong, who had flew over, softly sighed. Prepare yourselves. I will block Hun Jing and Hun Yan. The other elders of the Yao clan will help you tear open the space. Yao Dan rubbed off the blood on his face. His eyes swept over Yao Tian and the others. His expression was also extremely calm. Finally, he smiled and stomped onto the ground. His body shot out and the Do Chi within it completely boiled. Finally, he appeared like a brilliant falling star as he shot towards Hun Jing and Hun Yan in the sky. This lunatic. Han Jing duo's faces became cold after seeing Yao Dan charging over with all his strength. Both of them attacked and the color of the sky changed. Bang! 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 After Han Jing duo were engaged into a miserable big battle with Yao Dan, the many Yao clan elders in the sky once again rushed forward. After which, they wildly exploded at the same spot. Boom boom boom! After the space trembled, that spot in the space began to become increasingly distorted. Traces of black flame symbols seeped out from within the space and finally exploded apart in the face of the wild and violent energy assault. Let's go! Pink flame quickly surged out from within Xiaoyan's body the moment the black flame symbols cracked. A fire barrier was formed. After which, it locked Yao Tian, Yao Ling and the dozen over figures inside it. The Northern King behind protected Yao Lao. Their group's speed was unleashed until the limit as they hurried towards the space where the black flame symbol was torn with lightning-like speed. Continuing from the previous episode 648. Chapter 1577. Borrowing Flames. Bang! Bang! A thunder-like explosion continuously resounded within this realm. Following the appearance of each explosion, there would be an expert from the Yao clan exploding the Do Qi within his body and blast himself into pieces. In the face of such a wild and violent energy attack, even one's soul would not remain. Xiaoyan's group unleashed their speed to their limit as they crazily rushed towards the area where the explosions were most centralized. The seal at that spot had already been blasted apart. It would no longer be difficult to tear open the space. Those experts from the various sects were also closely following behind Xiaoyan. They understood that it was impossible for them to successfully escape alive by relying on their own strength in such a chaotic period. However, the Han clan's aim was to eliminate all the living creatures within the Yao clan. It was naturally impossible for them to simply allow Xiaoyan and the others to leave. While Xiaoyan's group traveled, the tooling creatures covering the entire area as well as the experts from the Han clan had immediately changed their target. They rushed and surrounded Xiaoyan's group from all directions. Xiaoyan's expression turned cold after seeing the figures, which were rushing over from all directions. He was just about to attack when old man Shen Nong from behind threw the medicinal herbs walking stick in his hand. Immediately, a green sea of flame spread rapidly. It emitted some swish sound as countless of towering trees appeared. Those huge trees with flame surrounding them were like vines that entwined around the figures, which were hurrying over. Xiaoyan sighed in relief as old man Shen Nong attacked. This caused the speed of Yao Tian's group to soar once again. Nihility, sir! Stop Xiaoyan! That brat also has a Tu-Shi ancient god jade in his hands. Han Huzi, who was being entangled with Elder Wanwo and a few others, hurriedly cried out after seeing Xiaoyan's group charging across the sky and was becoming increasingly closer to that particular space. Humph! Do you think that I can make many copies of myself? The Nihility devouring flame snorted coldly after hearing Han Huzi's cry. His voice appeared to be filled with some displeasure. Han Huzi was quiet after hearing this. He smiled in embarrassment. The Nihility devouring flame might be the most powerful person present, but he not only needed to split his attention to stabilize the spatial seal, but he had also suffered an injury from the soul fragment of Yao Di during the big battle earlier. Additionally, he had currently turned into countless of tunneling. Where would he find the strength to split his focus? Leave it to me, Han Jing. I'll leave this old ghost Yao Dan to you. Trying to block the both of us with just your strength alone is nothing but fantasy. One of the 4 demon saints of the Han clan from a battlefield in the sky mockingly glanced at Yao Dan, who was in a somewhat crazy state, in front of him. His body flashed and an afterimage appeared. After which, he escaped from the fight and directly rushed towards the spot where Xiaoyan's group was like an old eagle. Xiaoyan, he. This name is not unfamiliar to me. There has been many rumors about you within the Han clan. If it is not because the clan is preparing our plan, I would have already come out and meet you. You are the only person in many years who had been able to cause my Han clan to suffer losses time and time again. Han Yan's speed was extremely terrifying. Within a couple of breaths' time, he had appeared in front of Xiaoyan's group and laughed coldly. Xiaoyan's expression sunk as he looked at another tiger appearing to block their path. The strength of this Han Yan was extremely terrifying. Based on his senses, this fellow had likely reached the advanced 7-star Do Shen class. He was much stronger than even Yao Dan. Life Spirit Flame. Old man Shen Nong from behind also had a change in expression because of the appearance of Han Yan. Soon after, he immediately attacked. The large sea of green flame gathered and turned into a huge fire beast with 4 limbs. After which, it charged violently at the latter. Life spirit flame. Haha, I'm also quite interested in it. After capturing you this time around, this life spirit flame will belong to me. Han Yan laughed faintly as he faced the sharp attack by that huge beast. His large hand was suddenly clenched. Monstrous Do Chi gathered and directly formed a huge palm, which slammed onto the large beast. A frightening force actually scattered the fire beast with a strike. The force was the wind did not diminish as it grabbed towards Xiao Yan's group. The combat strength of this life spirit flame is indeed insufficient. Old man Shen Nong involuntarily laughed bitterly after seeing that the attack by the life spirit flame was useless. He looked at the huge palm that fell from the sky and hurriedly increased his speed. Swoosh! The speed of Xiao Yan's group soared as the huge palm grabbed at them. They narrowly dodged it. However, some of those behind them were unlucky. In the face of the huge claw, even the 1-star peak Do Sheng experts present amongst them had collapsed under the palm and explode into a cluster of blood fog. Xiao Yan did not have the time to be bothered about the many miserable cries emitted from behind him. His eyes stared intently at Han Yan in front of him. The position of this person was coincidentally where the spatial seal had been shattered. In other words, if they wanted to tear open a spatial crack, they must defeat this old fellow. However, trying to defeat a top expert who had reached the advanced 7-star Do Sheng class posed quite a difficulty to the current Xiao Yan. Northern King. Xiao Yan's eyes flickered. He threw Yao Tian, whom he had held in his hand, towards Yao Lao. A thought immediately passed through his mind. That statue-like Northern King, who had been following behind him, unhesitatingly turned into a ray of black light that charged forward. A wind containing a frightening strength directly covered Han Yan. Huh? Is this a puppet? A surprise flashed across Han Yan's eyes as he faced the unusually sharp attack from the Northern King. Even he had seldom seen such a powerful puppet which did not show any signs of being unfamiliar with combat. Its physical body might be strong, but a puppet is ultimately a puppet. Although Han Yan was surprised, he did not withdraw even a little. Monstrous Do Chi surged. He waved his hand and the Do Chi changed into a 1,000 feet large Do Chi hand, which easily received the Northern King's sharp attack. Occasionally wind churned as he struck his palm forward. The vast and mighty Do Chi forced back the Northern King. Its incomparably hard body revealed some half-inch deep scars. Given the strength of the Northern King, it was a little too difficult for it to fight against an expert at the advanced 7-star Do Sheng class. Little Yi, Xiao Yan cried out while the Northern King was stopping Han Yan with all its strength. Little Yi quickly rose from Xiao Yan's body. Finally, it completely merged with Xiao Yan's soul. Purifying demonic lotus flame came erupted from Xiao Yan's body in all directions following the merger. His body had once again turned crystal clear. Even the bones and internal organs in his body had been covered by a pink crystal layer. Extermination Fire Body. Xiao Yan had unleashed his strongest attack of his the moment he began fighting. He understood that an ordinary attack was completely useless against such an expert. Extermination Fire Lotus. Xiao Yan suddenly clenched his hand after the fire body was formed. 6 different colored heavenly flame formed a spiraling shape in his palm. After which, they mixed with each other. Within a short moment, it had formed a fire lotus with 5 different colored. An extermination-like aura spread the moment the fire lotus was formed. Go! Xiao Yan's arm shook the moment the fire lotus was formed. The extermination fire lotus was accompanied by a brilliant fire tail as it shot out with lightning speed. Finally, it exploded a short distance from Han Yan. Bang! An earth-shaking energy explosion resounded over the place. A firestorm, which was filled with an exterminating force, raged wildly. Any tooling that was within 1,000 feet from the storm would be struck by the waves. Their bodies would immediately turn into black blood, which vaporized under the high temperature. Humph. You do have some ability. However, if this is your trump card, you should just obediently hand over the 2 She ancient god jade in your hands. I can still allow you to die peacefully. The firestorm swept over the sky. However, that icy cold voice of Han Yan continued to be slowly emitted from within the storm. Everyone could see a monstrous black vapor surging from the middle of the firestorm, it actually managed to block the raging firestorm. Hun Yan stepped on the empty air at the middle of the black vapor. He took a step forward at a time. His clothes fluttered in the absence of any wind while he wore a dark and dense expression. Xiao Yan's expression changed slightly after seeing the unhurt Hun Yan. This was the first time that he had used the Extermination Fire Lotus while unleashing the Extermination Fire Body. He did not expect that he was still unable to seriously damage Hun Yan in spite of this. The strength of an advanced 7-star Do Sheng was indeed extremely terrifying. The aura of that old man is a little unsteady. It looks like that attack of yours from earlier has still managed to hurt him. However, it is still insufficient to seriously injure him. Old man Shen Nong spoke with a grave expression. Xiao Yan, we must escape as soon as possible. Otherwise, if those experts from the Yao clan were to be completely exterminated, we will also have difficulty escaping this place. Yao Lao cried out in a deep voice. Xiao Yan nodded quietly. His eyes looked at Hun Yan, who was wearing a cold smile on his dense face. He suddenly exhaled and spoke in a deep voice, Elder Shen Nong, Yao Tian, lend me the heavenly flames within your body. Old man Shen Nong and Yao Toin were startled upon hearing this. However, they did not have time to ask questions at this moment. The former was open-minded. He waved his hand and the medicinal ingredient walking stick in his hand landed in Xiao Yan's hands. Yao Tian hesitated for a moment before quickly spitting out a cluster of dark brown flame. The flame vaguely agglomerated into a turtle shape. This was naturally the heavenly flame ranked 13th on the heavenly flame ranking, the turtle spiritual earth flame. Xiao Yan held the walking stick with one hand and grabbed the turtle spiritual earth flame with the other. His crystal-clear body vaguely emitted a mysterious luster. Under this condition, both Little Yi and him had been completely merged together. From a certain point of view, he was currently in possession of the constitution of a heavenly flame spirit. As long as their owners do not resist, he would be able to use the heavenly flames that he had never refined before. However, their strength would naturally be a little weaker as compared to those that he had refined. At this moment, however, there was no time for him to think of this. Xiao Yan alone possessed 6 types of heavenly flames. If these 2 types of heavenly flames were to be added, the fire lotus that was formed would be an unprecedented fire lotus formed by 8 types of heavenly flames. Its might would definitely be extremely terrifying. Continuing from the previous episode 649. Chapter 1578. 8-Colored Fire Lotus. The life spirit flame and the turtle spiritual earth flame were quickly turned into 2 clusters of different colored flames in Xiao Yan's hands. There was a little resistance being vaguely emitted. After all, the 2 types of heavenly flames already had their respective owners. Even though their owners did not resist, their instincts would still pose some resistance. Moreover, this was the case despite Xiao Yan having transformed into possessing a heavenly flame constitution. If an ordinary person was to hold them, it was likely that they would have already exploded instead of acting in such a docile manner. Xiao Yan frowned slightly as he detected the slight resistance being emitted from the 2 clusters of essence flames. He flicked his finger. A wisp of pink flame was extended from his finger. After which, it wrapped the 2 clusters of essence heavenly flames. Immediately, the fire glow around the 2 clusters of heavenly flames showed a slight sign of stiffening. Even though these 2 heavenly flames did not possess any intelligence, they were still being frightened to the point of not daring to move in the face of the frightening, purifying demonic lotus flame's purifying strength. Xiao Yan sighed in relief within his heart after seeing the 2 clusters of essence heavenly flames becoming quiet. He curled his hand and 6 flames were once again formed. Xiao Yan flicked his finger while these 6 flames were slowly merging. The life spirit flame and turtle spiritual earth flame were shot into them. Bang bang! The flame, which was quietly being gathered, emitted a low and deep sound following the entry of these 2 heavenly flames. Waves after waves of frightening energy wildly whistled from within. It actually showed a vague sign of being about to explode. Xiao Yan's expression became a little grave as he sensed the change within the flame. Even though he currently possessed the heavenly flame spirit constitution of Little Yi, he was indeed a little too unfamiliar with these 2 heavenly flames. There was naturally some difficulty in merging them. However, this did not cause Xiao Yan to panic. His perfect heavenly state spiritual strength poured into the flame like floodwater. Immediately, the wild and violent nature within became like a large tank of cold water being added to boiling water. It immediately became quiet. Immediately, the wild violence scattered. The fire once again agglomerated under Xiaoyan's control. At the same time, the dou qi within Xiaoyan's body continuously surged into the flame-like floodwater. The addition of 2 types of heavenly flames had increased Xiaoyan's dou qi exhaustion many times over. An exhaustion of that extent was something that even the current Xiaoyan had difficulty supporting. With an increasing amount of dou qi being poured into the flame, layers after layers of seemingly real ripples began to be formed within it. A partial lotus shape had vaguely appeared with the flame. A kind of fluctuation that frightened even Xiaoyan quietly spread from it. The might of an angry Buddha lotus flame being formed from 8 types of heavenly flames could really be described as having the ability to destroy the world. Han Yan, who had been held back by the fearless Northern King, had also detected the frightening fluctuation as it spread. His expression finally experienced a change as he looked at Xiaoyan in a grave manner. Those eyes of his were focused on the 8-colored flame on Xiaoyan's hands. His eyes involuntarily twitched. Even he could sense a danger from that force. This brat is indeed extremely strange. He is merely a 5-star dou sheng, yet he is able to unleash such a frightening attack. A cold glint flashed within Han Yan's eyes. He suddenly slammed his palm onto the body of the Northern King. The sudden increase in his strength directly caused the chest of the Northern King to sink a little. If it was not because it was a puppet, this palm would have already taken his life. Even though this was the case, that ferocious palm wind still caused the Northern King to fly back by 1,000 feet. After which, Han Yan's body moved and directly pounced onto Xiaoyan. "Stop him!" Yao Lao's expression changed upon seeing this. He let out a cold cry and a dou qi pillar shot out. However, such an attack was completely ignored by Han Yan. It was scattered with the wave of his sleeve. Red poison palm. Old man Shen Nong had a grave expression after seeing that the obstruction was futile. His body rushed forward and his hand swiftly swelled. It also turned bright red in color. An unusual phenomenon was vaguely emitted from it as it smashed towards Han Yan. Humph! Faced with old man Shen Nong, Han Yan could only let out a cold snort. He flipped and lifted his hand. Those 5 fingers became charred black. He randomly slammed his hand forward and collided with the bright red palm wind of old man Shen Nong. Grug. The collision between the two emitted an unusual fragrance. Immediately, old man Shen Nong's expression paled. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. His body also miserably fly backwards. Clearly, he had suffered a big loss upon contact. A group of little shrimps actually dares to try and escape from the hands of my Han clan. In your dreams. Han Yan laughed coldly after he defeated old man Shen Nong with a strike from his palm. His body flashed and he appeared in front of Xiaoyan. His black fingers were just like the fingers of a death god as they grabbed towards Xiaoyan with lightning-like speed. Xiaoyan's eyes stared intently at Han Yan's claw wind. The latter would land on his body in an instant. The sharp wind easily tore through the dou qi defense on Xiaoyan's body. After which, it heavily landed on his body. Thud thud. The black fingers cut across, bringing with it some blood and sparks. The clothes in front of Xiaoyan's chest had directly turned into dust. A layer of tough dragon scale covered his body. However, 5 deep wounds had already appeared on the dragon scale at this moment. Fresh blood continued to flow out from his wound. If it was not because of the protection from the Dragon Phoenix ancient armor, it was likely that Xiaoyan's stomach would have been torn apart by this strike. Xiaoyan's face turned pale after suffering this heavy blow. Han Yan's claw wind had directly sent him flying backwards. However, an icy cold smile flashed across Xiaoyan's eyes as he flew backwards. His mouth widened slightly. Explode. Han Yan's eyes suddenly shrunk after the soft voice was emitted. His sight stilled at the spot a couple of centimeters from him. There was a palm-sized fire lotus slowly rotating there. A brilliant 8-colored fire lotus was rotating at that spot. It appeared incomparably beautiful. Han Yan's expression changed drastically as he looked at the fire lotus, which was in close proximity. Before he could react, however, a bright luster had erupted from within the fire lotus. Countless of light pillar containing an extermination force erupted. They shot out from the fire lotus in a densely packed manner. Any person struck by the fire lotus would be turned into ashes almost immediately. From the looks of it, it was fortunate that Xiaoyan had borrowed Han Yan's strength and flew backwards. Otherwise, it was likely that he would be shot by these extermination light pillars. Han Yan was the first to be struck. His body was penetrated by many light pillars. However, it did not turn into dust at this moment. Monstrous Do Qi continued to surge from within his body as it tried its best to block the erosion of the extermination force. However, the Fire Lotus, which had been merged from 8 types of heavenly flames, was not simple. An extermination like Fire Lotus was emitted from within the Fire Lotus after the light pillar shot out. The bright light in the sky appeared just like a bright sun. Intense piercing light had basically covered the entire Yao realm. Bang! An indescribable extermination-like force swept in all directions across the sky. The mountain range below, which was already full of holes, had turned into a red ground. The terrifyingly high temperature had melted the entire mountain range. Xiao Yan grabbed Yao Lao and the others. Their bodies flew backwards as the purifying demonic lotus flame formed a huge fire barrier in front of them. Only then did the group avoid getting implicated by the attack. The extermination force lasted for quite a long time before it gradually faded. A black smoke fell from the middle. Finally, it violently landed below, smashing the ground and forming a 10,000 feet large pit. Xiao Yan's eyes looked into the distance. He could vaguely see Han Yan within it. The latter was wrapped in a black vapor. However, his aura had become a lot weaker than before. Clearly, he had at the very least been seriously injured. Old man Shen Nong by the side inhaled a breath of cold air. His eyes were filled with shock as he watched this scene. It was difficult for him to imagine that Xiao Yan was actually able to force an advanced 7-star Do Sheng until such an extent. Hurry and leave, the space at that spot had already been torn apart by the remnant force. Xiao Yan's face was pale. The piercing pain transmitted from his chest caused his body to tremble. He swung his hand and tossed the life spirit flame and turtle spiritual earth flame towards old man Shen Nong and Yao Tian as he cried out in an anxious voice. His current condition was also extremely terrible. An 8-colored fire lotus exhaustion was far more terrifying as compared to what he had imagined. Even his current self could only use it once. However, he would end up being unusually weak. A weakened person had almost no chance of surviving in this situation with danger lurking all around. Only after hearing Xiao Yan's words did everyone realize that the middle ripples from the extermination force had actually been torn apart, forming a spatial crack line that was a couple of dozen feet in size. They immediately braced their attention. Quick! Xiao Yan took out a jade bottle from his storage ring. He randomly poured the medicinal liquid inside onto the injuries on his chest and once again urged. Taking the lead, he extended the bone wings on his back and rushed into the spatial crack with lightning-like speed. Now was the best opportunity to escape. Stop them! Han Yan's body swayed as he rose from the ground. His expression was ferocious as he roared. It was unexpected that even with his strength, he had actually been forced into such a miserable state by Xiao Yan. Bang bang! All the remaining experts from the Yao clan actually began to crazily self-destruct after seemingly having sensed that there was hope for Xiao Yan's group to escape. The waves from the explosions completely blocked those experts from the Han clan, who wanted to free themselves to stop Xiao Yan's group. Han Jing, who was exchanging blows with Yao Dan, had a gloomy face upon seeing this scene. Unexpectedly, that brat was even able to force back Han Yan. However, Yao Dan appeared to be aware of his intentions just as he was planning to free himself to block the group. A crazy and ferocious smile surfaced on Yao Dan's face. After which, the Do Qi within his body suddenly became wild and violent. Xiao Yan, thank you very much. Yao Dan turned his head as the Do Qi within his body reached the limit of its untamed violence. He looked at Xiao Yan, who had grabbed Yao Tian, Yao Ling and the rest as he entered the spatial crack. Those crazy scarlet eyes of Yao Dan revealed a smile that seemed to have been relieved of a great burden. After which, an extermination explosion that was not weaker than the 8-colored fire lotus explosion from earlier once again resounded within this blood-covered realm. Continuing from the previous episode 650. Chapter 1579. Escape. The frightening extermination storm swept apart within the Yao realm. Other than a small number of extremely powerful individuals, most of those who were struck by it were turned into ashes in an instant. The might from the self-destruction of a 7-star Do Sheng could really annihilate the world. This old lunatic. Faced with this extermination storm that spread across the place, those experts from the Hall of Soul, who were originally planning on stopping Xiao Yan's group, had no choice but to quickly withdraw. Even someone as strong as Han Jing and Han Yan could only step back and stay low at this moment. The storm continued for a couple of minutes before it gradually weakened. After the extermination ripples disappeared, 100,000 feet large hole appeared on the ground below. The bottom of the hole was completely black. It was as though one could not see the bottom. Such a frightening destructive force caused the eyes of Han Yan and the others to shrink slightly. Han Jing's and Han Yan's eyes immediately turned towards the direction which Xiao Yan's group had fled towards as the storm scattered. However, they merely saw a spatial crack that was slowly being repaired. Xiao Yan and the others had already vanished. Clearly, they had fled from the spatial crack. Damn it! Han Jing's expression was gloomy upon seeing this scene. He let out a soft curse and suddenly grabbed towards the spot where Yao Dan had self-destructed. Immediately, a glow flew over. Finally, it turned into an ancient jade that appeared in his palm. From its appearance, it was something similar to that Tu Shen ancient god jade in Xiao Yan's hand. It seemed that this was the ancient jade that belonged to the Yao clan. Why have you let that brat flee? Han Huzi's figure also appeared beside Han Jing as he spoke with a sunken expression. Elder Wanwo and the rest had already been completely killed at this moment. The former did not have much ability to resist in front of a 7-star Do Sheng. Han Jing held the ancient jade. He lifted his eyelid and looked at the extremely miserable Han Yan who had headed over. At this moment, green and white intertwined on his face. He did not expect that he had actually been turned into such a miserable state by Xiao Yan even after attacking personally. This brat does indeed have some ability. No wonder he is able to cause our Han clan to suffer losses time and time again. Han Yan's eyes were gloomy. However, he did not shrink from his responsibility. The destructive force that Xiao Yan had unleashed earlier was something that even an ordinary 7-star Do Sheng would not be able to produce. Moreover, from the information that they had obtained, Xiao Yan did not possess such a fighting ability. There was nothing to laugh about him suffering such a loss. We must not allow them to flee successfully. Although we are now no longer afraid of the Jiyu clan learning of this news, that brat does possess a Tu Shi ancient god jade in his hand. We will be able to save a lot of trouble in the future if we obtain it. Han Huzi said. He had been played by Xiao Yan while he was refining pill earlier. Now, it was only natural that he did not wish to see the latter escape. We should resolve the matter of the Yao clan first. Our mission is to collect the bloodline strength of the Yao clan. As for Xiao Yan's group, humph, how can it be so easy for them to escape? There are still Hun Sha and Hun Tu outside of the Yao clan's realm. Send the news to them. Ask them to dispatch one of them to kill Xiao Yan. Han Yan spoke coldly. If it is not because the both of them needs to help Nihility Sir to stabilize the spatial seal, it would be impossible for that brat to tear open a spatial crack and flee. Han Jing also nodded. He glanced at this realm, which was filled with a bloody stench. A cruel smile involuntarily flashed across his eyes as he spoke in a dense voice. With this bloodline strength from the Yao clan, it will be able to extend our Han clan for another 1,000 years. At that time, once our plan succeeds, the clan head will become the first person in thousands of years to step into the Do D class. At that time, the entire Do Chi continent would be under the rule of our Han clan. Even the Jiyu clan can only grovel at our feet. Originally, this day would have come much earlier. In the end, it was hindered by the Xiao clan. Back then, our attack on the Xiao clan had caused our clan to suffer quite a serious loss. We have only recovered until our peak after recuperating for so many years. Otherwise, we would not need to be overly afraid of the Jiyu clan. Han Huzi's tone was ferocious as he said, "Everything is worth it to eliminate the Xiao clan. That clan is far too difficult to deal with. If they were to join hands with the Jiyu clan in the future, it might really be possible for them to threaten our Han clan. We must eliminate them. Moreover, that Xiao Zhan, even our clan head at his peak, is afraid of him. We must not allow such an enemy to remain." Han Jing spoke in a deep voice. A frightened expression flashed across his eyes when he mentioned that name. It was as though he had recalled the earth-shaking, miserable battle back then. Han Yan took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. His eyes were dark and cold as he looked at the lingering battles still present below. He involuntarily let out a dark and cold smile. Start collecting the bloodline strength. With these bloodline, the clan head might be able to advance another level. At that time, our Hun clan will launch an all-out attack. The space hundreds of kilometers away from the Shenong mountain range suddenly became distorted. A spatial crack line appeared. Immediately, many miserable-looking figures continued to rush out from it. Everyone only heaved a sigh of relief after landing on the mountain. They had finally escaped from the prison where they would have to die. "Are you all right?" Yao Lao wiped off his cold sweat. Being able to escape from the realm sealed by the Hun clan was considered a miracle. However, he quickly turned his eyes towards Xiao Yan. His expression changed slightly after seeing the injury on the latter's chest. "I'm all right." Xiao Yan clenched his teeth. His hand rubbed over his wound. Wisps of pink flame entered his injuries. Immediately, white smoke was emitted. Traces of black vapor was being forced out from the wound by the purifying demonic Lotus flame. Xiao Yan finally sighed in relief after resolving the eroding qi present within his injury. He stuffed a medicinal pill into his mouth and recuperated for a moment. Only then did he turn his head and looked at the unusually quiet mountain range behind him. No one could have imagined that the realm within this mountain range had already turned into a complete bloodbath with corpses lying all over it. Besides Xiao Yan, those dozen over younger generation of the Yao clan, whom Xiao Yan had rescued from the Yao realm, were kneeling towards the mountain range with expressions that were full of grief. A couple of ladies amongst them had involuntarily cried. Having been constantly living under the protection of the Yao clan all their lives, they had never felt so helpless and hopeless before. Compared to the others, Yao Tian and Yao Ling were a little calmer. Although there was still an endless despair within their eyes, they did not display it on their face. The both of them had matured greatly after experiencing this great change. "Mr. Xiao Yan, there is nothing that we can do to repay this great favor of yours. If there is a change in the future, the Yao clan will definitely repay you with our lives." Yao Tian turned around, cupped his hands tightly towards Xiao Yan and spoke in a deep voice. Beside him, Yao Ling had also gathered her pretty eyes onto Xiao Yan and bowed slightly. "All of you should continue living. There is no need to repay anything. If it is not because those elders from the Yao clan had sacrificed their lives to fight, no one would be able to escape." Xiao Yan waved his hand. His heart also felt some pity towards the misfortune that had befell Yao Tian's group. From today onwards, Yao Tian was no longer the brightest star of the Yao clan. The latter would be just like him and needed to rely on his own strength. Whether Yao Tian could revive the clan would determine on his own ability. "What should we do next?" Yao Lao sighed and asked. "The Hun clan is far too brutal. There are many chiefs and elders from the various sects on the Central Plains who had been killed by them this time around. If news of this spread, the Hun clan will definitely become the common enemy of everyone. However, these factions are just like ants from the perspective of the Hun clan and they will have difficulty catching its attention." Xiao Yan revealed an expression of deep thought. A moment later, he said, "We must head to the Gu clan. Currently, the only one able to fight with the Hun clan is the Gu clan. They will definitely not stand idly and watch after such a thing had happened. At that time, only by combining with the Yan and Lei clan will it be possible to restrain the Hun clan. Otherwise, the other ancient clans will also have difficulty escaping this great calamity. From the way the Hun clan was able to easily eliminate the Yao clan, even the Yan and Lei clan would likely end up with the same fate. Of course, the Sky Mansion Alliance would likely end up with an even more miserable fate. In terms of foundation, the alliance still had some gap when compared with these ancient clans. Xiao Yan had never believed that the Hun clan would let the Sky Mansion Alliance off. Hence, he must think of a solution as soon as possible. Otherwise, when the Hun clan attacks the alliance, the result would not be any better than the scene today. "Teacher, you should first return to the alliance and make arrangement. Raise the defense level to its highest. Those that need to be shifted should proceed secretly. Tell everyone to be cautious." Yao Lao hesitated upon hearing this. Finally, he nodded. Given his strength, he would not be able to provide Xiao Yan with much of a help by following the latter. Instead, he would only be a burden. "The Shenong mountain range is not longer safe. I shall accompany you to the Sky Mansion Alliance. I heard that that old demon from the Pill Tower is also there. It has been many years since I have seen him. I really wish to meet him." Old man Shen Nong hesitated for a moment before speaking. The Hun clan was also targeting him. If he continued to remain alone, he would really be unlucky if the Hun clan was to discover his trail. Xiao Yan was also startled upon hearing these words. He immediately rejoiced. This old man Shen Nong was not only a 6-star Do Sheng, but his alchemist skills was something that few could match. If he could stay at the alliance, the strength of the alliance would soar greatly. Xiao Yan was naturally happy to see such a situation. Yao Tian, both you and your sister should head with me to the Gu clan. The both of you will need to explain the matter of the Yao clan in order for those elders from the Gu clan to believe. The remaining people should head to the Sky Mansion Alliance first. What do you say? Xiao Yan looked towards Yao Tian and Yao Ling and asked. We will listen to Mr. Xiao Yan's orders. Yao Tian and Yao Ling exchanged glances before nodding their heads. Although Xiao Yan was not very old, they clearly understood in their hearts that there was indeed an extremely great gap between them and Xiao Yan. In that case, let's get going. Xiao Yan sighed softly. His internal injuries had been significantly recovered during this short period of time. His voice had just sounded when his expression suddenly changed. He turned his head abruptly and looked at a mountain a short distance away. There was a figure carrying a huge dark red ghost blade on his shoulder leaning on a huge tree. Those savage red eyes appeared just like a bloody sea. Oh, have I been discovered? A ferocious smile rose on that figure's face after he detected Xiao Yan's gaze. An evil aura suddenly soared. Continuing from the previous episode 651. Chapter 1580. Devour. Someone from the Han clan. Xiao Yan's eyes were focused on the human figure on the distant mountain. Yao Lao and the other looked over. Their expressions immediately changed drastically. It was unexpected that there were actually experts from the Han clan present on this Shenong mountain range. It's Han Sha, one of the 4 demon saint. His strength is comparable to Han Jing and Han Yan. Old man Shen Nong was quite familiar with these people from the Han clan. Hence, his expression changed slightly after seeing the monstrous evil aura. He sighed softly. This Han clan has really dispatched all of its experts to destroy the Yao clan. Unexpectedly, there is really someone who can tear open the spatial seal placed by Nihility, sir. The figure in the distance stepped on the empty air. In a flash, he appeared in the sky above them. He looked down at Xiao Yan's group and focused his eyes onto Xiao Yan. His mouth was involuntarily parted into a smile. Those dense white teeth contained a stern evil aura, giving them the appearance of belonging to a savage beast. You are Xiao Yan, right? I have heard that the old man Han Yan has suffered a loss in your hands. The members of the Xiao clan are indeed extraordinary. Fortunately, my Han clan had decisively killed the Xiao clan. Otherwise, this world would currently be faced with a completely different situation. Xiao Yan's eyes stared intently at this black-clothed human figure. Although the latter had a dense smile on his face, his pair of eyes were filled with an indifferent evil aura. Clearly, this person was not some soft-hearted person. What should we do? Yao Lao asked in a soft voice. It is unexpected that they had encountered a wolf after escaping from a tiger's den. This fellow was obviously not an ordinary person. No one present was a match for this person if they fought. Xiao Yan's 8-colored fire lotus might be terrifying, but it could not be used continuously. Moreover, from the situation when he had used it earlier, even an 8-colored fire lotus would have difficulty kill an expert of this level. Should he manage to escape, their group would really have a difficulty fighting him. Teacher, you should leave first. I will block him for a while. Xiao Yan exhaled slowly and said, What? Yao Lao's expression changed immediately. How could Xiao Yan alone be a match for this person? Relax, I have my own plans. All of you should hurry up and leave. After that, hide your auras. I will hurry to the Gu clan after holding him back for a while. Xiao Yan softly said. He immediately clenched his hand. A jade bottle appeared in it. There was a dragon eye-sized medicinal pill floating within it. A shocking energy gathered like a crystal within the bottle while an unusual fragrance spread. Tier 9 Mysterious Pill. Yao Lao only sighed in relief after seeing that medicinal pill. However, his eyes still contained some worry. The energy of a Tier 9 Mysterious Pill was extremely terrifying. It would require many aiding medicinal pills to help in the refinement after one consumed it. Hence, even with Xiao Yan's strength, he did not dare to easily swallow it. Moreover, he would definitely have to fight with Han Sha after swallowing the pill. This would mean he would not have the attention to refine the medicinal strength. In that case, it might cause his body to suffer a relatively severe damage. Although he was worried in his heart, Yao Lao also understood the present situation. they would still have a chance to survive if they escaped. If they remained behind, however, it would not only end up distracting Xiao Yan, but they might really be eliminated by this fellow. You should be careful. Shatter this jade if you manage to escape. I will be able to feel it. Yao Lao finally stiffed a jade piece into Xiao Yan's heart while his heart struggled for a moment. After which, he let out a low cry and took the lead to rush forward. Old man Shen Nong behind hesitated for a moment before grabbing the youths from the Yao clan and quickly followed. Where do you think you are going? Hun Sha frowned after seeing that Yao Lao and the others were actually fleeing. The ghost blade formed by blood in his hand was swung downwards. A 10,000 feet large blood blade glow shot through the sky and sharply hacked towards Yao Lao's group. Clang! The blade glow flew past with lightning-like speed. However, a black figure appeared in front of it while it was still 1,000 feet from Yao Lao's group. Both arms of the figure were crossed and it forcefully received that sharp blade glow. Bang! Although they had received the blade glow, that frightening force had directly pushed that figure into the mountain range below. An entire mountain shook and collapsed. Huge rocks rolled and a loud rumbling sound appeared. The speed of Yao Lao's group once again soared after Hun Sha's attack was blocked. Within a couple of flashes, they had rushed out of the mountain range and swiftly disappeared into the horizon. Useless people. It is fine that they have escaped. Just capturing you will do. Hun Sha's brow was lifted after he saw Yao Lao's group successfully fleeing. However, he could not be bothered to give chase. He turned his head and his eyes suddenly paused on the Tier 9 mysterious pill in Xiao Yan's hand. A greedy flashed within those eyes. Xiao Yan, hand over that medicinal pill and I will give you an easy death. What do you say? Otherwise, I will extract your soul and burn it for hundreds of years. I don't think you wish to suffer a fate worse than death. Xiao Yan merely smiled coldly in the face of Hun Sha's words. He squeezed his hand and the jade bottle burst apart. The medicinal pill within it immediately turned into a ray of light. Before it could flee, however, Xiao Yan caught it with great reflex and directly stuffed it into his mouth. Bang! After the medicinal pill entered his body, the clothes over Xiao Yan's body had directly been turned into ashes. Densely packed dragon scales appeared over his skin. Waves after waves of indescribable energy continuously surged out from within his body like floodwater. At the end, the energy had actually agglomerated into an armor over Xiao Yan's body. What a powerful energy! Under the vast and mighty energy, Xiao Yan's body began to tremble continuously. The inside of his body felt as though he had just swallowed many huge dragons. It was a complete mess. Wild erosion spread over every part of his body. Under the uncontrolled violence of this energy, even Xiao Yan's perfect heavenly state's soul had been humbled. Roar! An endless energy galloped through the interior of Xiao Yan's body. Finally, it turned into an earth-shaking roar that resounded over the entire area. The surrounding mountains had once again collapsed in the face of the furious roar. Yao Tian and Yao Ling also hurriedly stepped back. Interesting. Swallowing a Tier 9 mysterious pill requires many other things to aid in its refinement. This action of yours is no different from committing suicide. Hun Sha lifted his brow after detecting the energy erupted from within Xiao Yan's body. He immediately shook his head and laughed coldly. I have given you a path to take but you refuse to. Do not blame me for being ruthless. Hun Sha suddenly stepped forward as his words sounded. His body appeared in front of Xiao Yan almost immediately. The blood-colored large blade in his hand emitted a swoosh sound as it tore through the air and slashed onto Xiao Yan's neck with an extremely shocking speed. The bloodlight was rapidly magnified in Xiao Yan's eyes. He clenched his hand and a mighty energy agglomerated into a huge heavy ruler. Since he was unable to dodge, he would directly clash head-on with Hun Sha. Clang! An unusually sharp wind spread as the blade and ruler collided. The mountain where the two of them stood on had been split into two. It collapsed with a bang while the entire mountain range trembled. Xiao Yan's figure was directly forced back by thousands of feet. A sweetness rose on his throat. However, both of his eyes were unusually excited. The earlier clash had exhausted quite a lot of energy, greatly relieving him of the feeling of being about to explode within his body. Again, Xiao Yan did not fear Hun Sha as the medicinal strength continued to surge out from within his body. He moved and took the lead to appear in front of Hun Sha. The heavy ruler in his hand did not contain any skill. It directly used the most brutal method to hack downwards violently time and time again. The vast and mighty energy had basically agglomerated into a 10,000 feet large ruler glow. The mountains were split wherever it passed. Clang clang clang. Han Sha's expression was a little ugly as he faced Xiao Yan, whose dou qi had erupted violently after swallowing the Tier 9 mysterious pill. The blood blade in his hands danced, forming many afterimages and receiving those heavy mountain-like ruler strikes. However, his body would descend by thousands of feet each time the heavy ruler fell. This caused his eyes to become a little gloomy. It was unexpected that Xiao Yan was actually so lively even after experiencing the big battle within the Yao realm. I will just watch how long you can be arrogant for. A Tier 9 mysterious pill might be powerful, but you do not have the time to refine it. The energy will completely damage your body. At that time, I will see how you will continue fighting. Although Han Sha had been pressed into a disadvantage by Xiao Yan's seemingly mad attacks, Han Sha was unusually calm. He let out a cold laughter while putting up a defense. Xiao Yan completely ignored his cold laughter. The excitement in his eyes grew increasingly intense as the heavy ruler in his hand fell in a crazy fashion. His strikes became increasingly heavy. The entire Shenong mountain range had been destroyed into a complete mess at this moment. Clang! Another mountain-like powerful strike fell and Han Sha's arm had become a little numb. His body fell backwards by 10,000 feet. Many mountains were shattered to dust along the way. His expression also became ulie. Ha ha, how enjoyable. Let's fight again another day. The moth excitement in Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly vanished as he sent Han Sha flying with a ruler strike. He laughed towards the sky. The pair of bone wings on his back was flapped as he immediately turned around and flew towards another direction. At that direction, Black Figure had grabbed Yao Tian and Yao Ling as it flew to the horizon. It was the Northern King, which Xiao Yan had ordered to secretly take the duo away while Xiao Yan was holding Han Sha back. Bang! Han Sha stomped his foot onto a mountain. Immediately, it was covered in cracks. Finally, the mountain was blasted apart and his body was stabilized. His face was dark and cold as he watched Xiao Yan flee into the distance. A low roar erupted. Xiao Yan, regardless of where you flee to, I will capture you, cut off your flesh and extract your soul. Han Sha moved as those vicious words sounded. He turned into a bloody light as he rushed forward with great speed. From the looks of it, he was clearly not intending to allow Xiao Yan to escape.